We can go. All right then. Well, good morning everyone and welcome to the 2023 Elder Justice Training. This is the 13th year that this training has been offered. And for those of you that are joining us virtually, welcome. And to those of you that are here in the Nebraska Public Media Studios, welcome to you as well. It is a great pleasure. Last couple of years we haven't had people in studio, so it's really nice to see people with us today. So thank you so much. My name is Julie Masters and I will be the moderator for the day. I teach for the University of Nebraska, Omaha, but on the Lincoln campus. So we have space in 2 spaces. This training is co-sponsored by the Nebraska Department of the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, the State Unit on Aging, AARP Nebraska. We had a shout out here in the room. The Alzheimer's Association Nebraska chapter, Legal Aid of Nebraska. And just so you know that Legal Aid of Nebraska provides civil legal assistance to those 60 and over, including those who are victims of elder abuse and financial exploitation. The UNO Department of Gerontology is also a sponsor of this event, along with the Better Business Bureau. We also want to make sure that everyone knows about the resources that are available at Legal Aid of Nebraska's Elder Access Line. The Elder Access Line helps Nebraska seniors with legal planning documents such as powers of attorney and healthcare powers of attorney. The paralegals on the Elder Access Line can also help Nebraska's older adults with abusive creditors, problems with landlords, denials of public benefits, and many other legal issues. Their telephone number is 1-800-527-7249. Again, the number for the Elder Access Line is 1-800-527-7249. I also want to make a special thank you to the remote host site moderators. So thanks to all of you at the various area agencies on aging across the state of Nebraska. And for those of you that might be new to the Elder Justice Training, we know that we've got people with backgrounds in financial planning that are participating, as well as people that represent the field of law and so on. If you have questions about aging issues, you can always contact your area agency on aging. And if you wonder how you can find who that person might be, there is something called the Elder Locator. So the Elder Locator service is available through the area agencies on aging. Also want to say a special thank you to the planning committee, the people that were involved in putting together this particular training series. First of all, a special thanks to all of you who participated in the training last year. You gave us ideas about what you thought would be good for this particular training. So hats off to you for your effort. And then I also want to say thank you to Antonio, for your wonderful efforts in terms of the planning of this particular training, to Julie Keitel with the Alzheimer's Association, Margaret Schaefer with Legal Aid of Nebraska, Tony Bonsera with Adult Protective Services, and to Gina Ragland for participating on the planning committee. And then we also want to express, again, our gratitude to Nebraska Public Media for their hospitality in serving as the facilitator of this particular training. Now, throughout this training, no doubt, you'll probably have questions that you would like to ask of our presenters. So questions can be called in or emailed and will be provided to the speakers. We've got folks from the Nebraska State Unit on Aging. And for those of you that are in studio, could you just give us a wave? So, okay, so Eric, Eric White will be taking your questions and make sure that those are provided to our speakers. So Eric, thank you so much. You'll also see on screen, and also for those of us in studio, that you have 2 telephone numbers that you can call call in your questions. Now please note that these are not toll-free numbers, but you certainly can call. First of all, 531-530-7018 or 531-530-7411. So feel free to call either one of those numbers and leave a question for Eric to collect. You also have the opportunity, for those of you that are joining us via streaming, and again, welcome to you, you can email those questions to dhhs.aging@nebraska.gov. And again, that's dhhs.aging@nebraska.gov. We'll make certain to display the phone numbers as well as the email address throughout the training. So if you didn't have a chance to jot that information down, that will be available to you. If it happens that a particular speaker generates a variety of questions, a number of questions, so that we can stay on task, it could be that we may not be able to get you to your particular question during the training, but we will make certain that a response is provided to you within a few days. Now, for those of you that are joining us streaming, you may experience a technical issue. We know that that might happen, so what we would recommend to you is to refresh the web page and start the stream again. Now, if that doesn't fix your issue, please contact us via phone or email to the information that's been provided to you. Materials are posted on our website at dhhs.ne.gov/aging training. And on that particular website, you will find the agenda, the brochure with speaker bios, slides for presentations, and nursing CEU instructions. In one case, we will have one presenter because the work that she will be presenting is still active. She will acknowledge that those slides will not be available to you on the website, but all other presentations will be. Now, there will be 2 15-minute breaks as well as an hour lunch break, and lunch is on your own. Now, it's important to share with you about nursing CEUs, and then we'll talk about the CLEs for attorneys. But first, in terms of for nursing CEUs, 6.15 CEUs will be provided to Nebraska residents only. In order to receive CEUs, you must follow the CEU form posted on the website. The process is only for licensed nurses. Other professions do not need to complete these steps to receive credit. After the training, you are required to complete the evaluation, and a link to the evaluation will be posted on the website. You are also required to complete the post-assessment quiz. If you requested nursing CEUs with your registration, the State Unit on Aging will send an email to you with a link to the post-assessment after the training, so please be sure to check the email address with which you registered. The post-assessment and evaluation are to be completed by August 22nd by 4:30 p.m. So that evaluation form will be available through August 22nd at 4:30 p.m. I would strongly encourage you to complete that as soon as possible, because time moves pretty quickly, and the next thing you know, it's August 23rd. So if you'd kindly get that done, we would greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions about that particular process, please feel free to reach out to the Nebraska State Unit on Aging, dhhs.aging@nebraska.gov. Now, for those of you that are seeking CLEs as attorneys, the training has been approved for 6.25 CLEs for Nebraska attorneys. Your bar number is required for credit. If you did not include it with your registration, please make sure to send that to dhhs.aging@nebraska.gov. You'll want to complete the evaluation after training. After the training, you will want to apply directly with MCLE Commission to receive credit. And the distance activity number, and you want to jot this down, the distance activity number is 231475. Now, if you are attending a remote host site, please make sure that you sign in. And this is required if you're applying for CEU or CLE credit. As always, if you have any questions, please email the Nebraska State Unit on Aging, again at dhhs.aging@nebraska.gov. All of this information was included with the confirmation email that was sent to you when you registered, if you did register online. Again, I want to just express our gratitude to Antonio, who has moved to a different position within DHHS, within their legal counsel. But Antonio, we're so grateful for everything you did to pull this together. We also want to express our gratitude to Penny Clark, who is serving as the interim director for the Nebraska State Unit on Aging, and for her efforts in terms of bringing us together. Now, we have a wonderful lineup of speakers, and just a reminder, it's because of the feedback that was provided to us last year that the speakers that you're going to hear today are here. I know that was a little redundant, but the idea is your feedback made a difference in terms of the training agenda. So we would strongly encourage you at the end of this training to offer your thoughts about any future topics that you think would be important to know. All right then, so I will go ahead and introduce our next speakers, and that is Tina and Gerry, and I believe they
Tina will be right in.
Okay, so let's go ahead, let me click out of here and bring up your slides. This is what teaching 36 years does for a person. Okay, you can use PowerPoint. How are you, Tina?
I am.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
You're
you.
going to really enjoy this group of people. So Tina and Gerry, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you, if that's okay, and then I'll let you take it away. You'll have the opportunity to use this wonderful clicker.
Perfect. We're going to give this to this gentleman over here.
Okay, very good.
I feel so special.
You should. You know, that clicker, it gives you a
Yes.
sense
Some
of power,
power.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Hold on to that, buddy.
Yeah.
Don't lose it. All right. It is my great pleasure to introduce our first speakers. TinaMurray is the Senior Director of Crisis Engagement at Together, Inc. She leads their Crisis Engagement Specialist team, working diligently to help the homeless and family individuals at imminent risk of homelessness. They help families and individuals with direct assistance programs to help stabilize their housing crisis. Prevention, diversion, rapid exit, and street outreach are some of the main services they provide. Together, along with Front Porch, has created a non-congregate shelter to house folks experiencing homelessness in the community and provide case management to help stabilize their households. Her comprehensive background includes developing and overseeing evidence-based case management services for homeless individuals and families, which includes supportive services in connection to shelter, plus care, housing, and permanent supportive housing programs. Her main goal is to change the narrative around homelessness, reject the stigma of poverty, and help families and or individuals obtain or remain in safe, affordable housing. Everyone deserves a home. It's a lovely way to put that. Gerry Ford, who has the clicker, who strikes me, you just really have this sense of confidence, right?
Yes.
He likes to talk, so
Oh,
this
yeah.
is going to be fun.
Oh,
Right.
excellent.
I know to cut it in half and cut it in half, so I hit time marks.
Very good. Gerry Ford is the Access and Housing Engagement Manager at Together, Inc. Mr. Ford oversees and supports an amazing team that works with individuals experiencing homelessness at Together's short-term emergency housing program. Through intensive case management, they work with their residents to identify and overcome barriers keeping them from obtaining permanent housing. His experience includes providing client-focused case management, assisting in building and implementing programs, and supporting and motivating his peers and those who report to him. His goal is to be a voice and advocate for people who are experiencing homelessness. The way that people view poverty and homelessness needs to change, and he wants to be part of reframing it. Very good. Well, Tina and Gerry, welcome.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm just gonna talk about the history of how non-congregate came about, and then the clicker guy is gonna be the one that's gonna share the processes of non-congregate. It's all a blur. In 2020, of course, we had the pandemic. And in Omaha, and I'm sure in Lincoln they do it also, we have a winter planning that comes about. Well, when everything shut down and the shelters shut down, there was no winter planning because we had nowhere to send anybody. So there started to be talks of non-congregate sheltering, which they had done in like California and places like that for people that had tested positive for COVID. Well, we twisted that a little bit and did it for both folks that were positive for COVID, but also people that were experiencing homelessness because they had nowhere to go. The shelters weren't taking people in because of the numbers. And then there were really, like, coffee shops had shut down. There was just nowhere for, like, the street homeless to go. So there was 5 women that worked on Zoom, and we built a temporary pilot for non-congregate. It was 2 locations. One was an active hotel, which I do not recommend. And one was a hotel that we rented, and the city of Omaha helped us. It was a vacant hotel. They were in remodeling before COVID and they shut down. So it was a great time for us to see the numbers that came through. So through January 2021 through September 2021, we served 278 individuals that came through that non-congregate and housed many of them. So when we shut that down, you know, because shelters started opening back up, we were then approached by Front Porch Investments to do it permanently. And so we went to a smaller scale. Instead of 100 rooms, when this construction is done on this beautiful building, it will have 58.
Eventually.
And then I wanted everything to kind of be in-house, just because of the culture. We wanted to make sure that we were able to do case management in the way that we were able to, because collaboration is great, but like to have the same agency doing case management and just guest services is great. So it's staffed 24 hours a day. We have guest services that are there to just serve the clients, like if they need toilet paper or they're in their door or whatever. But then we have housing engagement specialists who are the case managers, and the expectation is 24 hours after intake, they are meeting with their case manager and they're working on their exit plan to permanent housing. And so that's the way that we set it up. So Front Porch and the city of Omaha purchased this building for us, which was great. And we've been able to go in there. So we have been open since January of 2022. And we have been gradually opening up rooms. It's a labor of love. And we have been full, we've had rooms full since like 2 weeks after we opened, and we have a wait list. And so Gerry's gonna share some of their priorities and some of the selection processes. Just because we do have a small amount of space, we really have to be super selective, just because we wanna make sure we get the highest, the people that are the most vulnerable is what we really wanna focus on. And the difference between non-congregate and congregate would be, congregate shelters, sometimes you have like a dorm and it's got 150 beds. A non-congregate shelter are people come in and they have a room to themselves. And it's an old hotel, so it's a hotel room. They have their own bathroom, they have their own space, microwave, fridge, and we have food delivered. So we have a catering company that brings meals. We have a pantry together, so we're able to provide breakfast cold, but then we have meals that are brought in. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what the non-congregate is like. And it's the heart of me and Together, and then Gerry is now manages it, so.
Right. Part of it. I manage part of it. So I'll kind of go over the criteria we look at, how we select, and just how we operate things from there. So Tina kind of went over, it was designed to shelter populations that might not be successful or able to stay in traditional congregated shelter for one or more of the following reasons. So first, what we're looking at, individuals or households that are 55 years of age or older and are on the streets or in shelter. And actually at risk is something we've added to, like they're at imminent risk, like there's no going back, I'm getting evicted, or my building's getting shut down, and I'm gonna be on the streets.
Which we just took 2 families yesterday.
We did yesterday.
For-
Yesterday, the city likes to call us and see what kind of magic we could work with no money.
And we changed it to 55 because of prioritization in Omaha. We used to be 65, so we wanted to kind of fall in line with that.
Right. So then when we look at it from there, individuals or households with medical vulnerabilities or fragilities, including a medical condition like lung disease, severe asthma, or COPD. Cancer treatments, bone marrow, organ transplant, immune deficiencies. So it's kind of a broad scope of things. We look at when things come in, sometimes we have to ask questions like, I'm not sure what this medical diagnosis means, so maybe I'm Googling it or reaching out to somebody who can tell us, yes, this is something that would make their they suppress their immune deficiencies. But poorly controlled HIV, medications that will weaken their immune system, poorly controlled diabetes. We have a lot of people that are street homeless and they're dependent on insulin. Well, they have no way to refrigerate that, so quite often they just aren't being able to do that. Chronic liver, kidney disease, current dialysis. Also, individuals, households that have pets are unable to go to another shelter. That's one of my favorites and Tina's favorites because we're both dog people.
And they don't have to be emergency support animals or service animals.
Yeah, we don't include that part as a barrier, so they don't have to be licensed, they don't have to be vaccinated, they don't have to have a support letter. We will absolutely work with them on that once they get there because it's gonna be a barrier to housing. So once we get them in, we're looking at what kind of resources did you have. If you don't have money, what kind of resources are out there that we could help you get that done. We've been very successful in that because I know that if I lost everything, and it's me and my family on my streets, the dogs are part of our family, and I'm absolutely not going somewhere if my dogs can't go.
And
My
our
family might be somewhere, and I'd be outside with the dogs.
Yeah, and our intake person takes pictures of the dogs. She's just started that, so there's
Yes.
pictures of these dogs and cats on the outside of the doors, which
Right.
is my personal thing.
With their names, so then we know, oh, that's Fred's room, and that's Bear's room. And yes, it's very nice sometimes to have. It breaks up some of the stress sometimes seeing people's dogs. And then another one we're really happy to serve members of the LGBTQIA+ community. There's never, I know in Omaha, just from working in a congregate shelter, it's a tough situation for shelters sometimes because I want to help you, but I don't know where to put you safely. Or for the individual, I don't feel safe here. With us being able to give them their own space, some more privacy, less people around, it's been really helpful. So we do ask that everybody, actually require everybody has to be their activities of daily living. We are serving people with some medical compromising situations. We are not medical staff and we don't have anybody on duty that is. I wish there was something between what we do and what other places do, but right now there's not. So they have to be able to step in and out of a standard tub without assistance. I think we have 2 rooms right now that are ADA compliant. Some of them have a walk-in shower with a little bit of step, but a lot of them still have bathtubs. So we kind of have to look at that. Like, we don't disqualify somebody for that, but it might affect, like, we don't have the right room for you, so you have to be on the wait list a little longer. But they have to be able to do all those things on their own. They have to be able to bathe themselves. They have to be able to groom themselves, oral hygiene, all those things on their own without us reminding them. Dressing, they have to be able to dress themselves. We're not going to help somebody get dressed. We might have to, like, hey, your shirt's buttoned wrong, things like that, or remind them, hey, your pants are not
Pulled all the way up.
pulled all the way up, so you need to do that for us. And able to do their own laundry without prompting, without assistance. We do have guest laundry that they're able to do on their own. It's free of charge. We have a sign-up sheet to kind of maintain a little bit of order with it.
But our guest services do assist some people that have some issues.
Yeah, so on top of my team that does the case management piece, we have the team that's there 24 hours a day, and they really are the rock stars of it because they're keeping things running for us. Like, my team's there for 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. They're there literally, there's somebody there all the time. So they catch a lot of the things that we don't see, and they're helping them with things like this, like, oh, I could let you in the laundry room, or I can help you get toilet toiletries or toilet paper. Toileting, they have to be able to do it on their own. If they have incontinence issues, we'll work with you, but they have to be aware of it and have to be able to provide and change products on their own without prompting or without assistance. We've learned this the hard way. None of this is to say if we get somebody and we find this out after the fact that we're going to say you have to leave. It's just a hard process for us to redo it. We have done it and we've successfully got people into assisted living. It's just not a comfortable process for them or for us because it takes a little while. Transferring and mobility, have to get out of a standing position from a sitting position without assistance. Capable of moving from one location to the other without assistance from another person. Capable of going up and down stairs without assistance. This one I did put an asterisk by because that absolutely doesn't disqualify. We only have a certain amount of rooms on the first floor, and right now we don't have a functional elevator, so they have to be at least able to do one flight of stairs if we don't have a first floor room open.
I will go back to the building as a labor of love.
Yes, yes. Eventually, I don't like timelines when they give to me. Like if they tell me 2 months from, we'll have this done in 2 months. I'm like, yes, 2 months from some date in the future you will have that.
It's going to be
done, and I trust
beautiful
it.
one day.
It is. It's more beautiful than it was when we got it.
Yes,
That's what I like to hang my hat on. Housekeeping. They have to be able to keep their living situation clean, organized. We do supply basic cleaning supplies, a broom, a vacuum cleaner. We do case management in the rooms, so we're able to work on that. Those kind of life skills, like, hey, this is something that could lead you to not being able to stay housed. You might lose your housing because you're not doing this. We don't. We do have room checks once a week where guest services are going in on top of my team already being in there and kind of pinpointing, hey, this person needs to work on this.
We do that for safety too, where we have eyes on people multiple times a day just to make sure that they're safe. And
it is. People get really comfortable, which we're great with, but it's a little concerning sometimes when there's like, we're not seeing you out and about. We want to make sure that you're getting all things, or that you're at least know you can ask for things. Because if people get in there and they're like, I'm glad I'm here and I don't want to rock the boat, so I'm not going to tell somebody that my sink is clogged.
yeah, because
And I need
guest
help with
services
it.
see them all throughout the day. They deliver meals middle of the day, and then they do like curfew checks at night. So there's, and they, just so they have eyes on people, because they come to housing engagement or even myself and talked about a client is acting off, like something isn't right, and just because they're there and they're the brain of the operation.
There are absolutely people who are not daytime people and they want to be in the room all day, but if second shift or third shift isn't seeing them out and about, then they're like, oh,
Something isn't
we
right.
have Miss Sharon and she is in her room all day, but she usually comes out and talks to second shift. If she's not coming out, then I hear about it the next day or so. Hey, we didn't see her, so then we're checking, because we're not making, housing engagement isn't necessarily making contact every day face to face with somebody, so it's very helpful that they're able to do that for us. Have to be able to feed themselves on their own without assistance. Medication management, they have to be capable of managing and taking their medication on their own as prescribed. We don't help people, we could sit with somebody while they're making up their med set, but we don't hold their meds for them, we don't tell them when they have to take them. We might try to give them reminders that they have to. One of the things, like I'm working with somebody and a case manager and a resident now, needs psych meds, doesn't have any prescribed and also doesn't have a current diagnosis. So that's one of the things we're trying to juggle. We work with people on those things, but they have to be med compliant.
And the reason why that is one of our requirements is because that's part of housing stability, right? Like when we house you, you have to be able to manage these things. So we have had people that we've recently had to act because they were abusing methadone, things like that. So we have to be really careful because you're not going to be stable if you're not able to take your medication.
Right.
So we have to work through that. So they still come with us sometimes.
Yes.
And are not able to do that, and we have to work with them to do so. Eventually, I'd love to have like a med aid or something there. We're just not quite there yet, but I need rooms first.
Right, we need rooms and elevators and
Yes, I need
all the
those
things. We do what we can with what we got. Okay, some of the services we provide, the intensive case management focused on housing. Like Tina said, that's within 24 hours. We have somebody making contact with that person from housing engagement, at least to make an introduction. Hey, I'm going to be working with you on housing. There's paperwork they have to go through. A lot of times that first touch is like, I just want to introduce myself. It kind of explains some things, and then setting a meeting for later that day or the next day so we could start this paperwork and identifying what we need to do to get you housed. So they're doing the housing search, assisting with the application process. A little bit of that is, hey, you probably haven't done this for a while, so I'm going to show you, here's what we're going to do, and then I'm going to start handing, how about today we'll call this place, can you call these 3 places before we meet next time? And just explaining those processes to them, because it can be confusing. It's different for every landlord. Assisted applying for public housing and housing voucher opportunities. Public housing, and in Omaha at least, you can sign up anytime. You're going to be on a wait list. Things like emergency housing vouchers, housing choice vouchers, Section 8. Those things open up for short windows, and it's really hard to navigate, especially if you've been in the homeless system for a while and multiple case managers have helped you set up an account with Omaha Housing Authority, and then you don't know the password. So it's very hard to navigate. It's nice to have somebody that maybe has a quick contact to get it done. Replacement of IDs, birth certificates, social security cards, applying for assistance for disability benefits, applying for Medicaid, Medicare, and then limited transportation to medical and housing appointments. We use Uber Health a lot, and then we have a vehicle that we can use too. So between those 2 options, we're usually able to help people get there. We also try to work with them, like, hey, when you leave here, you're not going to have that, so you could get the rides to Medicaid, Medicare, but you have to plan ahead. A lot of planning ahead conversations we have. Okay, so common denials. We are referral based only, so people can't just walk up to us. There's a referral link, so they send us in the referral and we go through. But the things that can deny them, they require assisted living or has been approved for assisted living and is waiting for their room or bed to be ready. If they need assisted living and it's an extreme case, we are not the right fit for them either. We get this a lot from hospitals. Sometimes it's conversations back and forth, like, you're going to send them to us and then we're going to be trying to do what you're doing, and you probably have a better chance of getting them into skilled nursing or something until this opens up. We do get, it does come through us, it falls through the cracks, and we work with people the best we can. Person referred has regular or fixed doctor's appointments, require transportation, like chemotherapy, methadone treatments, dialysis, but does not have transportation in place. So those things that are like every day or 3 times a week, those we need to have set up in advance before they come, just so there's not a lapse when they get there. Like, oh, I had this set up where I was at, now I don't, and now I'm not getting my chemo treatments because there's not somebody that could take me back and forth. Their only barrier is mental illness is one. It's not a disqualifier if somebody's severely mentally ill, but they have to have one of those other things.
Because there's a scoring system, so it's not who was first referred, it's who's the highest score that comes in next.
Yeah, so we look at all those criteria, and there's points assigned for each one, and one of the things we don't score for is mental illness. So, if they have an open warrant or they're a sex offender, right now we have a building where there's children in it. Ideally, we'd like to have a place some point that we could do that,
Or a locked hallway or something. But
because we know that's an underserved population too. It's an uncomfortable population for people to work with, but there's still people that need housed. So.
And we just ask people, and there's other shelters that will ask people for their open warrants just to sit them out or to go and talk, and there's open court in Omaha that people can go to in Sarpy County. And sometimes if it's like someone was unsheltered and it's like trespassing, like that's a stupid warrant. So I don't even care about those.
Yeah, if it's something pretty minor, then we'll work with them. Or somebody's referred to us and they be absolutely none of the qualifications, then it's an automatic denial. Some common misconceptions. So we operate in what used to be a hotel. We are not a hotel. So when people say that we're a hotel, it's very confusing for the individual that's coming to stay with us, and very frustrating for us when they get there and they assume I could do whatever I want. I can come and go and I please. I can bring in whatever I want. Or somebody's going to come change my linens every day or come clean my room every day.
It's also a trigger for Gerry, if you can't tell.
Yes, it's very frustrating for me. I have conversations a lot with him. Please don't say we're a hotel. We don't hold rooms for emergency placement. For one, we don't have the space to do that. But it's just, we just can't. We have to kind of stick by what we're doing or it'd be absolute chaos. We're not medical or mental health respite. We don't have medical personnel on site. Somebody can't just walk in and get a room, or the person making the referral can show up with somebody so they can have a tour. We try to keep it like the location as protected as we can for the safety of the people who are there.
We
but
don't even have it
happens.
tagged as a together building. It's
Yeah.
not even like logoed.
We actually get complaints sometimes from like Uber because
Because they can't find us.
they can't find us. But the address
It's
is
on
there.
it's on a main street.
Yeah, I always tell people if you're setting up an Uber, describe the building because it's very easy for them to get confused and go next door. How to make a referral? There's a referral link. It's a Microsoft Forms. It's real easy to follow. Once that is filled out, then we pull those referrals once a day and put them on a sheet, and then once a week we meet as a team and kind of go through them and approve or deny them. Unless it's an automatic denial. If I pull one, it's an automatic denial. I'm not going to make somebody wait a week or 5 days for me to say, hey, you were waiting on this, but I'm really just going to say, sorry, like this doesn't qualify. Sometimes it's just because they filled it out wrong and they do qualify. So as they come in, we score them. The score dependent on the criteria meet. The more criteria to meet, the higher the score will be. Each referral must be experienced homelessness or be at imminent risk of losing their housing and meet one of those criteria to qualify. That I just talked about. I will notify you right away by email if that referral is denied and the reason why. And when I send those, I put in there, if you want to appeal it, please reach out to me and we can discuss it. Sometimes this is just a misunderstanding on how they type something. Okay, so screening examples. Referral A is 57 years old, living on the streets, has COPD and a pet. Referral B is 47, living on the streets, or living in shelter, has severe asthma. C is 35, on the streets, and severely mentally ill. So referral A scores more points than B and C because of their age, where they're living, and they have a pet. I didn't fix that yet. Referral B still qualifies, but most of the cases will not be pulled before A. The only time I could think of that it would is like the room that we have available isn't accessible to A. Or like referral C, this doesn't meet any of the criteria. I get it. I was a case manager, sometimes I just flood every option possible hoping that one of them goes through. So I don't get mad about it. I just say, hey, sorry, this doesn't work. Unless somebody is the same person over and over, then I might call them and say, can we discuss how things work? You're wasting my time and yours. Selection. So every Tuesday now, actually we just changed that this week, all the referrals are reviewed by Tina, myself, our operations director, our crisis engagement program coordinator, our intake specialist, and then our guest services lead. We go through them all. If there's concerns, we kind of talk about them. We decide if they're approved or denied and add it to the wait list.
And the reason why we involve everybody like that is we all have different like views, right? So guest services is going to see it from this way, housing engagement is going to see it this way, the intake specialist is going to see it this way, the operations director knows the building, and my coordinator I just throw her into everything in case I get hit by a bus. So we really like yesterday we had a conversation, and we don't always agree. So yesterday we had a conversation about a wound vac. Somebody said, well, we don't accept that, and I was like, well, when did we make that decision? And they were like, well, it can come undone. I said, well, so can a colostomy bag. So we really need to think through that, because you can't use that as a congregate shelter, and they're susceptible to infection when we're non-congregate for that reason. So sometimes that's why I stay involved. It's not because I'm a micromanager. It's just because I just have a little different experience, and I really want to talk through and challenge. So even though the operations manager was like, I think he was cussing under his breath because he knew I was right, but in his defense, like, I get where he was saying, like, there would be biohazard, but the colostomy bag, if you think about it, is the same way. So I changed his mind.
Right. Yeah, in those situations, generally what we do is we need to ask more questions
Yes.
before we make a decision.
It takes the bias out of some of the decisions, I
Yeah,
think.
and sometimes like it's dead on, like yeah, this person probably is not great. If they can't take care of that or they're not mindful, then yes. But we have been surprised by a lot of people that we thought this is not going to work well.
And I am
at all.
a challenger, so
Yes, very sometimes.
I'm a challenge too, so.
I'm a lot for her to deal with, so I'm okay. So within 48 hours of us referring those, we send out an email to the person that made the referral notifying them that they have been accepted and they're on the wait list. Then we send bi-weekly updates just to say, hey, you're still on the wait list. Here's what's going. When we send those, we're also asking if something has changed, can you please let us know? If they don't need housing anymore, can you let us know? For one, I'll quit flooding your inbox every 2 weeks with the same email, and then we can move on to the next person and not go there. Like Tina said, we have a wait list that, depending on occupancy, could be kind of long, so we want to try to make it as streamlined as possible. When a room opens up, we'll attempt to contact the referral that's been on the wait list the longest and scores the highest to schedule an intake. If the room that is open is not appropriate for that person at the top of the list, we'll work our way down for the same thing. Okay, so next longest person with the highest score. Sometimes that next person with the highest score is like the last referral we got. So it can be kind of frustrating for people that are waiting and waiting and waiting, and I get it. I wish we just could get everybody in right away, but we can't. Things to know, other than by sending those bi-weekly updates, we will not notify you of any changes unless we have tried to schedule an intake or we can't make contact with the person, or asking you if you still have contact and there's still a need. So I think it's like every 3 months we started doing now, or every month we'll go back 3 months and look at the ones that have been on there and just make contact with the individual making the referral. Hey, do you still have contact? Do you know if they still need it? Just so we could try to cut that down a little bit longer. There's no reason to reach out to us to see where somebody is on the wait list. We're going to notify you bi-weekly that they're on the wait list. We will let you know when they've reached the top and there's an open room. At no point will I tell you where somebody is at on the wait list because it could change at any moment. I never want to tell somebody, oh yeah, they're 3 away, and then I get 3 referrals that bump them down to now they're 6 away. I will absolutely answer those emails, but it's going to be sorry. It's going to be the same canned answer I give. Sorry, because of this and this and this, I can't tell you. I do like to stress to people, do not depend on us for the only option for a person's shelter. Immediate or fast placement isn't typical. Especially when we get into extreme weather temperatures, that's when there's the most like, oh, this person really needs it, and I get it, and I wish I could help them right away, but I can't. So explore every option you can, and hopefully we'll be the first ones to be available. Don't set a person's expectations that intake is guaranteed. They might be on the list for 5 months, 6 months before we get to them. Don't disclose the location. And back to that expectation, if somebody's referring us somebody and they don't qualify, I really feel bad for that person that thought this is automatic, I got referred, I'm eventually going to get in. I get it. I would want to be where we're at too, because we're pretty awesome. We can't help everybody. Don't disclose the location of step or give the referral our contact information. We will reach out to them when they come to the top of the list.
We had a situation yesterday where a case manager or referring agency gave the referral link to the client to refer themselves, and we will not accept that because there are questions on there that we need from the case manager's standpoint to really have an understanding, and clients, one, shouldn't have to do that referral for themselves, and 2, are not really going to understand why we're asking those questions. So
Right. Make sure the person understands they can only bring in a limited amount of belongings to make sure they don't have weapons, drugs, paraphernalia, and alcohol on them when they arrive for intake. It happens. I have never turned somebody away because they came in and had a pipe or they had a bottle on them. We let them know we found it and we destroy it. Within the expectation, like now you know. For sure, like we're telling you to your face, you can't have this, so don't bring it back in.
yeah,
Because that can be something that leads to you.
Yeah,
leaving.
people can go off campus and use and drink, they just can't bring it on campus,
Right.
and we don't do any type of testing, we
No.
don't do any type of drug testing.
As long as somebody doesn't come back and they're not combative or they're being belligerent with people, usually we're just going to say, can you just go to your room? and sit it out. It's very rarely a thing, but yeah, we've never sent somebody away strictly because they're using, just don't use on our property, don't bring things in the building.
We also have a bedbug oven that we put people's belongings in, so they need to know that. Our operations director would tell you can start a homeless shelter, buying things off of Amazon. I can support that because we did get that off of Amazon and it works great. You can fit furniture in it, believe it or not.
Yeah, mattresses,
So
couches.
we do have that. So anytime they bring something in, it has to go into that just because we don't want an infestation. We also have learned that we can't have open containers in there, not for any other reason that people are, they're gonna show up and have some stuff in their drink, which is, like I said, you can do it outside, off campus, I don't care, but we just don't wanna bring it in the building, cause it is a liability. We don't want people hurting themselves, following all those things, so, yeah.
How many people can you accommodate now?
I think right now we're probably close to 40 rooms.
Yeah, when the construction's done on the building, we'll have access to 58, so it fluctuates. It's a labor, it's a labor of love, just when we think we get ahead. We had some plumbing issues and now the thing, but right now I'd say we're about 38.
Yeah.
And projected 58.
And how long do people stay?
As long as they're engaged with housing engagement, the case management, there is no length of time.
I didn't ask that right. I guess my question is really, what's the typical or average length of stay for people?
We've just recently had somebody that got housing that had been there for a year and a half, and then we've had people that have literally been there 30 days.
Yeah, I'd say
just
probably
kind of all
60 to
depends.
90 days a lot of
Yeah,
times, but then
that's
we have
right.
those
Okay.
extreme.
Yeah, it
And then
just-
we have some like 2 weeks and they're gone.
It's like whatever barriers. We have some people that come through that their backgrounds aren't that great. We do run backgrounds first so we can have honest conversations with landlords because we want to be upfront because we're not going to put in an application that you're not going to get approved for. Some people have evictions. We had one lady who was 75 years old who lived in OHA for 22 years and was evicted over like $300. We paid the $300 and then rehoused her. So just every situation is just so different. So that's why we don't have like a length of stay. As long as you're engaged in that case management and
Right.
housing engagement, that's all we really want is that you're trying at least. So
Yeah.
Did I
somebody-
understand that you might have a family come in?
Mhm.
And would they all stay in the same room?
Yes.
we
Yep.
have bigger rooms. We were blessed with this hotel
Yeah.
that had like suites, if you want to call it that. So there are some spaces that has like a small kitchen or an extra room, so bigger spaces. So it's still not ideal, but
A couple of the rooms are adjoining, so if we have a big enough family, then we'll just use those 2 rooms for them.
What do
Thank
you
you.
consider a family? Because I have a grandma that's elderly and her adult daughter lives with her, and then the adult daughter has 2 children.
that's a household to us.
Yep.
Okay.
We wouldn't separate. If you come in as a household, that's how you're going into a room, right?
Okay.
And then we've also had misconceptions by like street outreach that found 2 people living in a car. They were like, oh, they'd be great together. They did not want to be in the same room, which understandably, you're sitting in a car, like I get it, so.
Right. Luckily, in those instances, we've had more than one room available,
Yeah,
so
and
we're
so
able
we
to
just
split
have
them,
like
but-
intentional conversations with those. Our intake specialist has been with together for like 10 years, and this is like the perfect job for her. Roxanne, I just saw you sitting there, it's Loretta. And she loves that part, and she will spend so much time with those individuals coming in the door. That she knows everything and sends out this beautiful email with pictures of them and their animals and tells us their history, so we all know throughout the building like who they are, and she'll share something really nice and how thankful they are. So it's the process is really great. We have a lot to learn, but we've come a long ways.
We did have a situation where it was like multiple, like 4 adults, and then so I think they it self-resolved before we got to it, but our plan was going to be, okay, well, we don't have rooms next to each other, but we have enough adults that we could have adults and kids here and adults and kids here.
Well, we had one mom that had, I want to say like 6 kids, and we had like those adjoining rooms in hotels.
Right.
So she got 2 rooms, so there was enough space. So if we are able to accommodate, we'll try to do our best.
Creighton University was redoing some of their dorms and let us come in and get some of the bunk beds too. So we've used that. Like, we don't have a big enough room, but you got kids that are old enough that at least one of them could go on the top bunk, and these two could go in this one, and this toddler could probably go in there with mom in the bed. So we get as creative as we can.
Yeah, what's great about Together in the leadership is Together is that we can be creative and think outside the box. So we have definitely done it in this program, just trying to
Right.
think through what works. Yeah.
Is there a Together Norfolk or Together Hastings by any
Not
No,
yet.
but who do I need to talk to make
Right.
that happen?
Right.
Did you have a question?
I do. As we have an older population that's jamming out of prisons, our prison population, and I know there's a transition problem. Do you guys do any referrals from that aspect, or?
We take referrals from anywhere and everywhere. We get them from all over. It's not just hospitals. It could be other, throughout the years that I've been there, I've gotten like Activate Care, UHC, CHI. I mean, we're just getting it.
Other
from all over.
shelters.
Yeah.
What about DV?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
actually one
didn't
of our
add that onto
criteria.
there,
Yeah.
That was just one of my questions is, can anyone make a referral? Any individual, or does it need to come from an agency?
I mean, I think right now we need it to be from an agency because we have such restrictive rooms, just somebody who knows them. And eventually, my dream is to have more and then more space, and then we can serve, people, I would love, there's a place that we need to, there's people that are sex offenders or on registries that need places to recover and stuff too. So eventually I would love to do all that. It's just the labor of love has kept us kind of small.
Yes. You guys seen that movie Money Pit where they fix one?
Yeah.
We're less like that now than we were originally.
Yeah.
Are you a nonprofit?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Very good. And we also have some questions from
Okay.
people joining us via streaming.
Okay, so first one, if residents need help with ADLs, do you allow them, if they have in-home care providers, to assist with ADLs?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, that's one of the things we'll ask sometimes, like, or if we deny it because of that and they come back. Yeah, that's absolutely something we've worked with.
And we've also take clients that has a family member that is their caretaker. We've
Mhm.
also taken that. That's why those conversations are
Yeah.
really important at the front end.
Yeah, say like we've had mom and adult daughter. Mom is the one that has all the qualifications. Daughter's the caregiver. Absolutely, we'll take them. Does your program prioritize those already in Omaha, or is the program available to the rest of the state? Yep, not just Omaha.
It's based on that scoring
Yeah.
system.
I think I've taken people from Norfolk,
Really?
Iowa. Yeah, yep. As long as somebody has a link and they're a professional, and I mean, I'm not gonna go pick them up, but if they could get here, we'll do it.
You don't want to take a road trip?
I mean,
Road trip.
depending on the day and where I'm going. I'm not a big fan of Kansas, so I don't want to go to Kansas. In regards to the training, is PACE able to enroll? Because it sounds like they would be, since the rooms are non-congregate. PACE can help provide those services that can't, so everyone can all work together.
I would love to talk to you, whoever that is.
Yes, she would be the one to talk to about.
Yes. I'll
And then
leave
she
my
would
card.
tag me in. Then she would
So
tag me in.
that was from somebody that's watching via stream.
Oh, sweet.
So could you, Tina, would you mind telling us your email
Yes,
address?
yeah,
Thank you.
it's T for Tina, Murray, MURRAY, and then it's at togetheromaha.org. But I would love to talk to you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so
yeah.
much.
So I guess as you guys are renovating or fixing up the hotel, are you keeping in mind like certain modifications that may be more age-friendly? Like grab bars,
Mhm.
taller toilets, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we had accessibility person come through at the beginning, and she talked about colors on the walls. So she talked about how the doors, I mean, she went room by room by room. So we have, right now, we're working with the handrails, go down the stairs, but we have our hallways painted certain colors that are supposed to calm.
Calming.
And each one is painted a different color, so people that get lost. So yeah, eventually they'll have all of that. We have a carport that's kind of closed in where all of our case management and services will go, and then that will open up that whole building to do that.
I know we've had other like Home Depot came in, like they wanted to help out, and that was one of the things they thought they might be able to help with
Yep.
too, with some grandmothers and things like that.
Yep.
So everything's in stages, so.
Yeah. Painful stage.
One more question just came in. This individual wanted to know about the source of funding. Where does your funding come from?
So right now, it was funded through Front Porch. So they, and we got some money for the building piece through City of Omaha. So there were some COVID dollars, I'm sure, that helped for the purchase, and then Front Porch raised the dollars because the two individuals that started Front Porch were actually on the front end of the original non-congregate conversation. So right now, that funding has come through them.
So all private, yeah.
Mhm.
We're always willing if people want to give us more money for stuff.
Yeah, I'll never say no. Any other questions?
You know, could you talk a little bit about the prevalence of homelessness within the aging population?
Yeah.
Because that's the title of this talk, and it might surprise people just how that number continues to grow.
I mean, I can speak for our COC in Omaha, and I know that the number definitely is rising, and their income isn't rising, right? So we have people, maybe like $791 is what they're getting, and the apartments are like, what we say is affordable. I know we have this huge push for affordable housing in Omaha, and it kind of makes me cringe sometimes, not because I don't think we need affordable housing, I just think we use that term very loosely. Because affordable housing to me might be completely different than somebody that's making $791 a month.
We need more income based.
Yeah, so I don't feel good about putting somebody in an apartment who makes $791 and has to pay $600 and then figure out the rest of it. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. And we have a lot of that. I know our rapid rehousing, it's a small rapid rehousing to some of the other organizations. So they have 5 case managers, and they have between 10 and 12 cases. And a lot of those people are 55 and older that they're seeing, and trying to find a place for them to be able, I mean, realistically, to live out their lives and do so securely is becoming more and more difficult because there's no housing out there. Like, it's a huge struggle. And I know we have the PIT count. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's a point in time count that they do once a year. In January, they go out and they count the unsheltered, and then they count the people in shelter. Omaha started a few years ago doing the summer PIT. It's just for us organizations to have a better idea, because January is always the coldest month, so we do it in July when it's a little hot. And I know over the last couple of years, those numbers just keep rising of what we're seeing. So we've seen a lot of people. I have a team that goes into eviction court and are working with, and I cannot tell you how many folks who have lived in housing, like that 75-year-old that we talked about, who's being evicted over something.
First time homeless,
She was evicted because she wouldn't let people in to like do an inspection on her home. But to be honest, do we really know if she understood what you were asking about
Yeah.
letting strangers in?
And in her case, she had a lot of medical compromisations, and she was sick and didn't want somebody to come in the house, and the housing authority was unwilling to reschedule it.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of nuances that go on when it comes to that older population. And we have a lot of folks that have been in shelter for so long, and then we pull them. You're taking somebody who has been in like a community for, say, 5 years, say it's just even 3 years, and then you're pulling them out of that community and isolating them and putting them in an apartment and expecting them to thrive. And that's just, we are missing that gap here somewhere. Especially as you get older, you know, you've built that community, you have your friends, and then you're just pulling them. And isolation is a scary thing for any population, but someone that's older, I just can't imagine.
Right. We've
So-
had people that we've housed that they're happy, but they're scared to leave. One gentleman had been on the streets as long as we could track in homeless management information system. Got there and he hated us. We were the worst hospital he'd ever been in. And then slowly, like,
Is he the
came
one that
around.
put in his resume so we could hire him?
No,
Okay,
that was a
great.
more recent one. This gentleman, like, he started getting a little softer around the edges. We could talk with him, and he came in one day, and I came in one day, and he's got like notebook paper covering his eye. I'm like, what happened there? He's like, oh, I'm supposed to have an eye patch. Like, oh. So I just bought him an eye patch. So then by the time he got housed, he's like, I'm excited I'm housed, but I don't really want to leave here. You guys are my family now. And so it's those ones that are like, oh, I don't want you to ever leave either. If I could just keep the building full of people that wanted to be here and loved us, it would be great. But it was one of those like, it's great. And like now we're like more than a year and a half after he's been housed. He was fortunate enough to have some wraparound services when he was leaving. He's still housed, and he hadn't been housed in as long as we could track. So those are the ones that were like, that's awesome. That's why I show up every day. It's not because of the difficult cases. I like those too. I like trying to problem solve, but those are the reasons that we get up and come to work, is because those situations where this guy probably would have died on the streets if he spent the rest of that winter he was on.
Well, and I think that there's a narrative around homelessness where people aren't willing to do the work. People don't wake up one day and just say, I'm gonna go live under a bridge on 72nd. Like, there is trauma that has happened. And I mean, I've been front lines for a lot of years, and I could tell you, I have had people sit in front of me and I'm trying to call an organization and I'm waiting 45 minutes for you to pick up on the other line. And some people don't have access to phones. They just don't have access to those types of things. So the idea that somebody is able just to pull themselves up and pull their life together is completely unrealistic, because the system is not set up for that. So as advocates, my belief is that sometimes you're gonna have to call and make that first doctor's appointment with somebody because they're not comfortable doing that because they haven't had to have those conversations. To you, it might seem like nothing. And Gerry can speak to that. Like, I'll call people out on that. Like, you know, I have a 25-year-old daughter, and I still have to help her make her doctor's appointments, you know what I mean? So, like, for you to expect somebody who has basically been told when they could sleep, when they can go to bed, I mean, and to be able to just pop in and just be able to handle all those things are completely unrealistic. And that's the narrative I think we need to change for all populations of homelessness, because people just, they might tell you they don't want assistance, they might not want help, but they do, and it's our job to talk with them and build relationships with them, to try to get through that. I did street outreach for many years. I've had people that told me they were fine living by the North River. They are not fine, and one day they'd come in and say, can you just pay my deposit? And it's because you build a relationship with them. I've had a gentleman come in, he needed to be housed. I wasn't gonna tell him that, he knew that. All he cared about was checking his email, he wanted to make a few phone calls, and he wanted a backpack. So I let him sit at my desk, he answered a few emails, made a few calls, and I gave him a backpack, because that's what he wanted, and that's what was gonna take his crisis away, so we could focus on the other things. There was no need for me to, he knew he needed to be housed, he knew that, I don't need to tell him that.
I had a question. So if you have a person that comes in, obviously they're probably not working, they don't have references, so you find them a place to live. How do they pay their rent and their deposit and the utilities? Do you work with like utility company to get the electric turned on and then say put them on budget, or buy food? And
Yeah, so that's a great question. So if we have somebody that comes in with no income, it's also gonna depend on what age they are. But there is Douglas County General Assistance that we'll try to connect them with if they fit that age criteria, and they'll help with that. We also try to connect them, I have job postings that are sent to me all the time from the workforce places, and then the case manager will work with them on that, or try to get them into those OHA or into those things. They try to make that connection before they're housed. So it is very much housing first, but their job is to make sure it's a stable housing, so they're not coming back into the back end, if that makes sense. So we've housed people without income with general assistance or through OHA. Sometimes people get part-time hours. We had a woman recently, because she was stabilized, got a pretty good job, and you know, she's able to save. We had one woman that was on Social Security and saved a lot of money, and we had to talk through, like, you can't have that in the bank because they're going to cut you off. Like, we really had to have a different conversation.
You can't have $10,000 in your
So
bank
it's
account.
really just a very
so
individualized.
you do work with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. They don't have to have income to come to us at all.
We've gotten really creative, so general assistance will pay X amount of dollars. If they get Section 8, usually if they have zero income, they still have to pay $50, so we've navigated
GA will
like,
pay the $60.
oh, you'll take GA and the, so,
Yeah.
oh, housing authority will pay this much, and then GA will pay this, and usually in those situations, we're trying to work on getting them disability or employment too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys work with immigration services as well?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you don't have to be a citizen. It's going to take us a little longer, But yeah, we've had people that have come in that are not citizens.
Along the same lines as this lady's question, I was just wondering about meals and food. You don't provide that at the shelter? do
2
you?
a day.
We
Okay.
had we worked with a catering company. It was a hotel that wasn't getting a lot of business, thankfully, or which is weird to say, but we were able to give them work, and they provide lunch and dinner for our residents. And then our pantry would go and make sure we get milk and cereal. And then if they have SNAP, they're allowed to bring food into the
Yeah,
building.
just nothing like, they can't have
can't
things they
cook
have
raw
to
meat.
prepare. Yeah, they can't cook raw meat. things
Although
like
you
that.
can cook hamburger in a microwave. Yeah.
I had a question from online that says, can you comment more on how Together Inc. is working to accommodate the LGBTQ plus elders, and then especially those who might be coming in from Western Nebraska, as well as trans individuals?
Yep. So it would still be based on, we're still gonna go by that scoring system. But we have worked, LGBTQIA sometimes don't feel safe in other shelters, so that's why it's one of our criteria. And we wanna make sure that we are giving them the space, and so they have their own space, to live whatever life that they want to live. So I don't know if that answers their question. It's just one of the criterias, and so let's say that you were street homeless, had a pet and LGBTQI, you're gonna score higher than somebody that was just referred that was LGBTQI. It's just based on that scoring
Or just
system.
was homeless on the streets
You
with a
just get
dog.
scored for that because we know that they are an underserved youth and elder in the population.
And I, just going off the top of my head, I would think trans community in general has been a good bulk of the
Yes.
population we serve with LGBTQIA+.
Yes, for sure.
That's what I have found has been the most uncomfortable when they're in shelter, because
Congregate shelter.
or congregate shelter is they don't put me where I'm comfortable, or the shelter's like, I don't know where I can put you safely.
Mhm.
So,
Any other questions? This has just been a tremendous presentation.
Thank you.
Very much. I think you opened all of our eyes to a topic that is sorely needed to be discussed. You just did an outstanding job. So in studio, let's give it up.
I did bring my card, but because I work at a nonprofit, there is a mobile phone that I no longer have because I've given it to my staff. But my email still works, so I didn't bring a lot, but I have them if you need them.
And again, for those of you that are joining us via the web, that email address is tmurray@togetheromaha.org.
Yep.
Very good. Tina, Gerry, thank you both
Thank you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
thank you guys.
Wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you so
And
much.
thanks for returning the clicker.
Right, I know, I like it.
Jerry, wait, I have my eye on you. I
I'm
thought
gonna
That was a
put-
lot of control to give him.
I like
Just saying.
electronics and I
Tina,
like.
beautiful
Yes,
effort.
thank
Thank
you.
you so
Yeah.
much. What a